I have yet to meet a Republican that agrees with President Trump's strategy.
Doug Ford is in hot water. Welcome back to Moose and Loose. My name's David. Today we've got Doug Ford announcing a big nuclear deal. That's right. And where is it? It's in America. Of course it is. We also have shocking news of a planned terror attack here in Canada. Got a bunch of other stuff. Let's jump into this. Starting this one off, we got CBSA employees embroiled in hundreds of founded misconduct cases, report says. What is it? Providing false statements, interfering in immigration processing, associating with known street candy traffickers, among other things here, failing to enter required information in CBSA systems, failing to conduct proper search during arrest, hiring family members and friends, cheating on selection process. This is great. This is coming from the CBSA, Canada Border Service Agency. Welcome to Canada. Moving ahead, we've got a press conference with Doug Ford down in America announcing a big nuclear deal. And this ties directly into this. The story I showed in the previous video, Doug Ford's minister here, wrapped up in an ethics scandal, $2.5 billion skills development fund, of which he chose who got that money. So he's being investigated now for this. As I said in the previous video, this sounds very much like SDTC, Green Slush Fund, where well-connected insiders are getting taxpayer money. So going over to the deal here, Ontario and New York sign agreement to build nuclear energy and grow economies, new collaboration, etc., etc. Doug Ford down in New York for this.
This deal will see Ontario share our world-class expertise in large-scale reactors as well as the small modular reactors with the great state of New York. As part of our deal, Ontario Power Generation and New York Power Authority will work together on developing an implementation of advanced nuclear technology. I always say it's safe, number one, it's clean, it's green, it's reliable, and it's cost affordable for especially the ratepayers here and over in Ontario as well. But before I conclude, I just want to take a few moments to talk about our relationship. You know, I appreciate our relationship between New York and myself and the governor. I consider her a
So he just goes on to a big ramble here, talks about how much he loves America, and then starts attacking Donald Trump.
I call it AmCan Fortress, American Canadian Fortress, that we put a ring around the two countries. We continue trading with our allies around the world, but make our countries the safest, wealthiest, richest, most two prosperous countries in the world. No matter if it's our energy that we're shipping down here or goods that we buy off our great friends and allies here, or rare earth minerals as well. You know, that's a beacon of stability and security, and it sends a message around the world. And
talking about rare earths, critical minerals, Donald Trump just started up a Pax Silica agreement, and Canada wasn't even a part of it. The relationship is not good. And who's at fault here? Well, Doug Ford is one of the major culprits. This guy released that ad directly attacking Donald Trump when apparently a deal was imminent. How dumb can you get?
Together, we will prosper, the likes of which two countries have never seen before. When, you know, I always say a tariff on Canada is a tax on the American people. And it's amazing. I talk to governors every day. I just talked to the great governor in North Carolina. I'm here with Governor Hochul. I talk to senators and congressmen and women. The ironic thing is, folks, I talk to both Democrat and Republicans. I have yet to meet a Republican that agrees with President Trump's strategy of going after his closest friends and allies. This does not work. You can't unscramble an egg that's been around.
Okay, Doug, this is obviously a bunch of bullcrap. Obviously, a bunch of Republicans agree with Donald Trump. Now, does he have full support? Well, no. If there's 4 Republicans that are now voting with the Democrats. But I mean, you can't make statements like that that are obviously false.
Around for generations, you have to make the omelet larger. And everyone's going to benefit. There'll be more jobs, more security, and both countries are going to thrive like they've never seen before. But
he does his big ramble here, and once again taking shots at Donald Trump. He releases his Ronald Reagan ad where they selectively took words from Ronald Reagan, cut it in a way for maximum impact, essentially blowing up the trade deal between Canada and America. Mark Carney approved Doug Ford running that ad, and Doug Ford talking about this just yesterday. Mark Carney smiled his way through that when Ford was talking about it. So I don't really think Carney wanted that deal. I mean, his investments in America, he doesn't want to rock the boat on that. Now this gets interesting here because this press conference, for whatever reason, it doesn't show all of it. You can see here's the signing and it basically just ends. You can see the end of the video here. So I don't know where the rest of this footage comes from. There was, I think, a few questions, and this gets pretty spicy. So here they are signing it, holding it up, yada yada. Before we get to the spicy bit, this is the same Doug Ford who just a few months ago was talking about cutting off the electricity to America.
Premier of Canada's most populous territory, Ontario, and Premier Ford, as we mentioned, President Trump is now saying he is enacting a 50% tariff on steel and aluminum from Canada, which will go into effect tomorrow in response to your actions. What's your reaction?
Could it be lights out in part of the U.S.? Listen to what Doug Ford says.
I will do everything, including cut off their energy, with a smile on my face. You think the people of Ontario are that dumb?
Premier of Canada's most popular.
Yeah, that's not aging very well, Doug. Throw those on top of his ad that blew up the trade deal. Seems like Doug Ford is the biggest problem to Canada right now, besides Mark Carney. And here they are signing this deal in America for more nuclear power. And we don't have enough details right now, so purely speculating, I have a feeling that this company here might have something to do with this deal. Brookfield and Camco bought Westinghouse. If I were a betting man, I would say this company, Brookfield Camco, will have their fingers in this deal, deep in this deal. Now, remember at the beginning of the video, I mentioned Doug Ford's minister here being investigated for this $2.5 billion fund, training fund that he hand-selected who got the money from. It appears Doug Ford got a question here. This must be from American media. I don't know where they had the recording going longer.
Well, I know he'll cooperate with the Integrity Commissioner, but this SDF, we call it Skills Development Fund. You heard the governor say they're investing $40 million. We've invested $2.5 billion. We've trained over 750,000 people. Already 100,000 people have found jobs. We're training them in every single sector.
Yeah, that's not the problem, though. The problem is you guys hand chose who got that money. Well-connected insiders, your friends, are getting that money. That's the problem. It's the same as the liberals. It's almost like Doug Ford is a liberal. It's almost like Doug Ford rolls in the same circle that is enriching their friends, exactly like what happened with the SDTC scandal, the Sustainable Development Technology Canada Fund. I'm not letting this go until we get this investigated properly and people are charged and put in prison for their crimes because they ripped off taxpayers. This isn't like $10. This is hundreds of millions of dollars. It appears the same thing is happening with this slimeball and his government. Your hourly reminder that there's zero accountability in the party of personal responsibility. And what do we have after this? I don't know if there's a bunch of questions they answered. I'm not sure where this clip and the previous one comes from, but Stacey nails it here. After recently threatening to cut off electricity to the US, Doug Ford signs a nuclear energy agreement with New York. The best part of it, though, is when he hightailed it out before he could be further pressed on the Integrity Commissioner investigation into the $2.5 billion SDF. Watch the reporter at the end here. This lady drove 3 hours to ask Doug Ford a question, and he books it.
Respectfully, I drove 2 hours to be here. Premier, can you please answer
Premier
my question?
And Governor,
Premier, respectfully, I came 3 hours from Toronto.
What about a
Why
surcharge
can't you
on
take another
electricity
question?
to the U.S.? Is that still in place?
You can see there at the end too, she right at the end there, she drops an F-bomb. I don't blame her. I mean, she drives, what was it, 2 or 3 hours to go ask Doug Ford a question. And we go back to that insider information Mario got, saying that Doug Ford shut down the government for 104 days so he wouldn't have to answer any questions. Zero accountability because the jobs numbers are so bad. Things are so bad. His approval rating, cost of living in Ontario is the worst in Canada. And now you have this. I believe she's a Canadian journalist, drove there to ask him a question and he turns around and walks away. What a loser. This guy is just like Mark Carney. So I've got another angle of it here, and this is from Tina. I believe this is the reporter. The premier refused to take my questions in Buffalo despite his government facing an unraveling scandal. Ontario's ethics watchdog. So it goes through the same thing, $2.5 billion in skilled development fund. The plan was to ask why Pacini hasn't been fired because it's one of his guys. He's not going to fire him. Yeah, so this is directly coming from her own phone.
To be here, Premier, can you please answer my
Premier
question?
and Governor,
Premier, respectfully, I came 3 hours from Toronto.
What about a surcharge?
Why can't you take another question?
These guys are so corrupt, it's unbelievable. You know, they're doing this big deal. Meanwhile, who's benefiting from this? Is it Brookfield? Is it Mark Carney? Is it Doug Ford? That's the next question is Doug Ford invested in Brookfield? Well, I've looked into this. Here we have the annual reports. This is coming from the Integrity Commissioner of Ontario. So basically, Doug Ford has to submit all of his holdings to this organization here, to this office, and they have a list of all of them, but they don't make it public. Maybe it's time to pressure them to make it public. I will be sending an email to Catherine Motherwell here requesting such information. I doubt they'll give it to me. If they don't, I'm going to make a bigger stink about it on here. You can have premiers with investments and we don't know what they are. It's ridiculous. They should all be forced to sell them, excluded from capital gains tax, and then reinvested by a money manager in a blind trust and have no idea what it is. That should be the standard across Canada, period. Now, what we do know, Doug Ford owns a company here. It's called Deco Labels and Tags. He did have to disclose that, and that was revealed. Something else here, it says nearly 40% of Doug Ford's cabinet members are invested in real estate, and well, they've got them circled here. You would think that would be higher for all these cabinet ministers, but they have a list of them here, and that's not all that interesting. What's more interesting, some of Doug Ford's cabinet ministers invested in Brookfield, investment and registered account, Brookfield Asset Management. So it's these two, Rob Flack and Monte McNaughton here, assets in Brookfield Asset Management. Now, this isn't some smoking gun or whatever. It's just an extra piece of information. Two of his ministers are invested in Brookfield. Brookfield's a big company. Maybe they just thought, oh, let's invest in one of the bigger ones here in Canada. But I bring it up because if we see other actions from, say, these two guys that are in favor of Brookfield, well, then we've got a problem. So I will be adding these to the chart, as well as thickening out Doug Ford's section on the chart, because this display here is absolutely disgraceful. Doug Ford shutting down the government in Ontario so he doesn't have to answer questions. People drive 3 hours to ask him a question. He still doesn't answer questions. This guy's just like Mark Carney. In other news, we're having a bunch of pushback after the Bondi event that happened. We've got Australians here taking to the streets. Bunch of them out protesting, filling the streets. Meanwhile, back in Canada, what do we have? An ISIS plot to end Jewish people in Toronto has been revealed. As Warren pointing out, you'd be hard-pressed to find it on CBC's website. 3 Toronto men arrested for H-motivated attacks, ISIS-related terror lord activity. These guys were charged Friday. Today, the rest followed 2 failed kidnapping attempts in May and June, as well as seizure of weapons, including in long pew-pews. One of the suspects was charged separately with terror lord offenses that include conspiracy to commit ending people for the Islamic State and providing cryptocurrency to the group. These guys are 26, 18, and 19 years old. They face 80 charges as a result of major crimes investigation called Project Neapolitan. A parallel investigation by RCMP's Integrated National Security Enforcement Team resulted in 7 terror lord charges against Khan, who was accused of conspiring with the Allah Karim. It's time to get this garbage out of our country. Like, seriously. Why are people still voting for Liberals? They brought this in. This didn't exist in Canada before. The Liberals brought this in, and rich Liberal Canadians are like, oh, it's totally fine. They're not in my neighborhood yet. So here's one of those characters. Put them in jail, put them to work for years, and then deport them once their sentence is done. We need to get value back out of these people before we send them home. Get them building some rehab centers around Canada. If that wasn't enough, we have a police officer that's been shot. It was not too far from where Doug Ford was doing that press conference. This is in Canada, though, just over the border, and he actually mentioned it at the beginning of the press conference.
We do, though, want to begin with some breaking news from Ontario's Niagara region. A hospital and multiple schools are in lockdown in the city of Welland following reports of a shooting. The CBC's Mark Carcassole joins me now on set with more. We know a few details about what's happened here. What can you tell us?
Not a ton yet in terms of a full-scale picture of what happened over the last hour, Arthi, but we have heard from Niagara Regional Police that there was a shooting in Welland, which is just west of Niagara Falls, Ontario. They say this occurred, for anyone living locally to orient where this might have happened, it occurred on 2nd Street near Plymouth Road and Lincoln Street. There is a
Avoid this area. There's bad guys on the loose.
Heavy police presence in the area with a large perimeter, according to police.
Canada is so dangerous now. It's unbelievable. Meanwhile, we've got Rebel News on the streets doing an interview.
Are those machine gun earrings dangling her?
Yeah, machine gun earrings. My name is Esther Karam.
Okay.
Okay, I'm 22 years old. I'm a Palestinian. I have no problem saying I support Hamas because they are the true fighters of Palestine, and they're gonna bring back Palestine because you guys are white supremacist idiots that need to wake the up.
Sorry, who are the white supremacist idiots?
You are.
Me. Okay. Gee.
You're using terms like terrorist for. Have you even seen what has been happening in the past 75 years?
Ma'am, several governments recognize Hamas as terrorists.
The evidence of what has been happening for 75 years.
So I should note this is probably a repost because there's probably snow on the ground here. Regardless, though, it's still relevant.
Have you seen it?
Well, we're talking current events right now. We're talking about the terror last week and what's happening in Gaza right now.
Years of all this. Forget 75 years. This year, did you look into how many Palestinians were murdered?
By whom?
Did you look into how many times our mosques have been desecrated? Did you look into how many times our prisoners have been 12-year-old boys have been arrested?
But ma'am, it's well documented that Hamas uses mosques, hospitals, and schools to hide their arsenal.
By who?
Well, it's a matter of fact.
Did you ask the Gazan people if that's what they've seen and that's what they heard? Or is that just white reporters being
What is race? Sorry, ma'am. What does race have to do with this? You say.
Now you're playing the race card.
No,
right?
you played it. You said, "What do white reporters?" You brought race into this. What does race have to do with this?
What is race? So, do you think this is a religion? Is that you think the issue is religion, right?
No, I'm not even bringing religion into this. I never said the word Muslim. You did several times.
Okay. Racism. Oh my God. And then this one. I don't know what I'm doing.
She just got checkmated is what she got. He exposed her nonsense to her, and now she doesn't know what to do. She doesn't know how to push back. He exposed that she's the problem here.
And I really don't. I don't know why I'm talking to you.
Well, you came to me, man.
I gave you my information. Esther Karam, pro.
Yeah, so she's done here. She doesn't know how to clap back. She has one line of anger that she unleashes on everyone, blames Canadians even though Canadians let this person into our country. We shouldn't be bringing in people like this that hate our country. Not to mention the start here, she admits she supports the Chips and Hummus crew, which is a designated terror lord organization. So immediate deportation. So jumping back over to Doug Ford here, we've got this story of a new hospital being constructed and it's being built by an American company, at least the outer structure. Doug Ford taking a lot of heat right now.
New concerns about Ontario's largest hospital construction project. We're learning the Ford government finalized a contract just last month, handing a $140 million project to a U.S.-owned firm amid a heated trade war.
Something else to note here. This lady, you see at the beginning, her name is Tina. This is the same lady that tried to ask Doug Ford that question at that press conference.
Going forward, we have to rethink the way we procure in this country.
When first asked about the contract concerns by City News last month, the government said the procurement process to build a new 2.8 million square foot hospital in Mississauga started back in 2022 before the Trump administration took power. But City News has now learned the contracts in question were finalized in July, awarding a U.S. company the construction of one of the hospital's most costly components, the building's exterior.
The contracts began, and they take years to develop. And so turning back at this point would have been starting back from scratch.
It is one of the largest healthcare builds in Canadian history and will include a 22-story patient care tower with more than 350 beds and one of the largest emergency departments in the province. Still, the Ontario NDP say the exterior contract should have been reassessed.
There's no evidence that the hospital construction would have been delayed. What we are surprised about is why contracts continue to be signed with U.S. companies when the trade war has been going on for months.
Maybe it's because Doug Ford and Mark Carney have large investments in America and they don't care about Canada. Doug Ford invited Mark Carney to hang out his Muskoka cabin. He just said it in their last press conference. He thinks Mark Carney's doing a great job right now as Canada is crumbling.
Contract is a clear violation of the government's own procurement policy, which bars U.S. companies from public contracts in response to the escalating tariff war.
The government had already made an announcement saying they were going to prioritise Ontario businesses. Yet at the same time, a contract has just been awarded to a US company to build part of an Ontario hospital.
The NDP argues there are 700,000 unemployed people in Ontario, the highest in a decade. But the Premier's office tells us the selected company is delivering their work using 100% local union labour.
The Premier's been very clear. Every nut, every bolt, everything we can possibly make, we want to reshore, we want to onshore.
With the contracts now awarded, crews are already on site to redevelop the hospital. Construction is expected to be complete in 2033.
No matter how you slice it, this is bad for Doug Ford.